if you watch us on social media or anything, this is one of our recent defections. So this is a councillor, a sitting councillor, who is defected from Reform. So she's actually there.
Come on, Emilio!
So she's seen the light before, obviously, everybody else wakes up. So, in fact, I won't say any more about that, and I'll let her explain the story to you. But without further ado, please can you help me welcome Councillor Amelia Randall to this collection.
Well done, Amelia.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to stand here in front of you today. And I stand here not just as a county councillor, but as someone whose path has taken many difficult turns, moments of conviction, and ultimately a decision that was made on principle rather than convenience.
That's better.
So today I share my journey and why I was in Reform UK, why I left, and why UKIP is where my heart and purpose now lie. My hope is that by the end of this, you'll feel not just informed, but inspired to stand firm on our values, as I believe that our mission is calling to us now, stronger than it ever has before.
Hear, hear.
So where have I come from? What have I done? Well, from my earliest memories, my life has been shaped by faith. I used to go to Sunday school. I started off in the Church of England, went to Methodist congregations, and at one point I was even a Jehovah's Witness. Now, although today I do not practice, and I'm not perfect, but I've never forgotten the framework and the values of the Christian life. I understand and appreciate much of what is taught, the dignity of the individual, the call to service, and the notion that truth, compassion, and sacrifice all carry weight. And I believe it is vital for any society to recognise those values, even though not everyone may practice them. Our laws, our culture, our public life should never pretend that good and evil do not exist. And we should be able to call out that evil, the evil that threatens us, and not sit back if and when people from other cultures are trying to change ours.
Hear, hear.
Now, when I became a mother, my desire to shape and be part of politics increased. Because what matters more than giving our children safer streets, hope for a good future, and a healthier environment? Now, do forgive me for this, but at one point in time, I believe the Green Party offered that solution. Obviously, I realised it was a load of nonsense.
Hey.
But even then, my political curiosity always pointed towards movements capable of preserving a country where future generations can thrive. I've always been drawn to ideas that and save our country. I wanted a platform that spoke of firm immigration control, of prioritising British citizens, of restoring respect for our institutions and our heritage. And I wanted something that would fight for our freedoms, freedom being the very first thing that I saw when I went to their website.
Hey.
At the start, we were real people wanting to fight for real people in society, which I felt was also what was needed. And I believe that through voice and through action, we might steer the political course back towards accountability, identity, and patriotism. Over time, though, I watched as bold words became diluted promises. I saw hesitation in the moments when I should have seen strength and courage. I saw principle given up under pressure. The very convictions that we were campaigning for were bending. And I saw loyalty pushed aside for cosmetic appeal in a name or professionalisation.
Boo.
Now, leaving Reform wasn't easy. I've got many connections in Reform UK, including a special connection. But then telling me that they would not speak to me again, that was a really hard thing for me to hear. And after having quite a hard life, for the first time ever, I felt like I really belonged to something. So to walk away from me was not a decision that I made on a whim.
That's right, we're family here.
Now, in that moment, I messaged Nick, saying that I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders, and that I needed someone to say something that I didn't know what I needed to hear. He responded with empathy and then advised me that whatever decision I choose to make, it shouldn't be based on emotion, but on my political and religious ideology. That reminded me that I knew where I stood with Nick and with UKIP, but I no longer knew where I stood with Reform UK. So I asked myself, do I stay hoping for change and for things to get back on the path that I believe they were on? Or do I stand up where I believe that I must? I've always believed that things happen for a reason, and in moments like this we learn a lot about ourselves and our own strength. My loyalty must be to conviction and to saving our country. And so I made a choice to defect to UKIP. Because UKIP for me is more than a party. It is the banner for principles that will not bend. I see in Nick a leader that speaks what he truly believes, and with so much conviction that he won't stop until he delivers on them. He's a different class of man, and we need to deliver a government that is not of the same old political class, but of real people such as Nick, such as myself, such as you. So what drew me to UKIP? Well, I believe that UKIP stands for sovereignty, not as a slogan, but as a lived reality. We believe that our laws are made here by our people and that our nation must protect its identity and interests. UKIP stands for freedom, not license, but freedom rooted in responsibility and truth. The freedom to worship, to speak, to live, without being silenced for believing in something that is greater than yourself.
Here, here.
Freedom has always been something that I wanted to feel and to fight for. I believe UKIP stands for faith and morality. Christianity teaches compassion but also justice. It tells us there are lines that we do not cross, and that sometimes defending the good means standing alone. And
Well
on
done.
illegal immigration, we stand firm for immediate deportation of those here unlawfully, prioritising the rights and welfare of those who have obeyed the law, establishing stronger border enforcement and a dedicated migration control department, and ensuring that asylum is not granted for those entering illegally from safe countries.
Yes.
Because as a party we believe in putting the people who are here first, those who obey the law, who have built their lives, who invest in our communities. We believe in protecting the rights of women and children. Now, my vision that I saw when thinking about UKIP was that under a UKIP government, I see in England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales a united Britain where our borders are respected and illegal immigration is properly controlled.
Yes.
Where our Christian heritage is acknowledged and not hidden, and public life does not shy from faith, from moral clarity, or from truth. I see that we would have freedom of speech. Conscience and belief will remain central, so that you can say what you believe without fear of cancellation or vilification.
I see, you tell them.
We will have a government that serves the people, not institutions, not global entities, but ordinary British citizens first. We are a party of the people, for the people, and protecting those most vulnerable in our society.
Here, here.
So today I ask of you to be brave, speak truth where others choose silence. Be persistent. Stand where conscience leads and not where it's easy. Be active and engage in your communities, in your local councils, and in your churches and conversations. Hold your leaders accountable, but also take leadership for your own sphere, because we each have a role, we each have influence, and we need to use it. So let me leave you with this. There came a moment when I could no longer stay silent. For in silence I realised that freedom dimmed and lies were breathing. That was my moment. Could be your moment too. We stand at a crossroads. One path leads to fading identity, quiet capitulation to external control. But the other path leads to a Britain that is sovereign, that is Christian, and that is free. We are not here to whisper. We are not here to compromise. We are here to proclaim, and we are taking back our country.
Yay!
Thank you for being here with me today and for believing, like me, in UKIP. Together we can and we will build a future worthy of our past and worthy of the Britain that our children deserve. So I ask you to take a stand and rise to the challenge that lays ahead, because our very future depends on our courage.
Well done, Amelia.
What a great little speech, and that is just a really good example of some of the people that are coming forward for us now. A real strong, independent woman who believes in this country and believes in its people. So thank you very much. And like I said about Marie earlier, if you get online on the social media platforms, follow her, and keep in touch with things that she's saying. Brings me nicely on to our next speaker, again, someone who is an immense patriot and has basically in different ways been representing this country for, well, probably in excess of 15, 20 years. So I saw her recently on the Liam Tusk podcast, and I watched it and I thought, wow, like, what a story. So I thought, well, again, I'll invite her here today to talk to you about that story. So without further ado, can I please welcome Louise Glover to the lectern.
Go on, Louise!
Hi everyone, I'm Louise Glover. My story is kind of an unusual one. People don't really fully understand me, but here I am. This is my story. So over a year ago, I was made homeless because the rise in rent costs got so extreme. I was only renting a box room, but the rent went from $500 to $750 overnight, and I couldn't afford it. I said to the landlord, this is just ridiculous, you're going to have to give me some time to find somewhere to live. And I ended up going online, writing something up, 4 weeks, he gave me 4 weeks. So I got all finalised. But in that 4 weeks, I was going through a health scare that has been over me for the last year now. It's heart palpitations and migraines that are every day, constant, non-stop. And it's from the very first day that he said, you know, you need to look somewhere else to live, because if you're not going to be able to afford this extra rent, then... And this was in Windsor, which is actually now, funny enough, one of the most expensive places to live in England. But at the time, I was getting by. I was managing, I can't manage £750 rent a month, going from £500. So that was my story in a nutshell. I was struggling because I was in and out of A&E for the first few weeks. I thought I was having a stroke. So my mum and dad passed away 10 years ago this year, and my mum died of an instant heart attack, and it's like a stroke then heart attack. So with that in mind, this is in the back of my mind as I'm going through this stress, and I'm thinking, am I having a stroke, am I dying, am I having a heart attack? Because it's why your chest was tight. So from the stress of everything the past year, I've still not found out what's wrong with me, and apparently it is down to stress, but I've had all my heart scans, I've had all the MRIs done, everything. And I still live with heart palpitations today, and I won't take medication for personal reasons. I don't want to go down that route, but I'm still trying to find the root cause. But going back to my situation, I was living in a tent for a year, couch surfing when I could, but I really can't rely on people. I really struggle with that. And then I was basically just moving around, dog sitting, which was my job, is working with dogs. So the dog sitting, that couch surfing, the campsites, I was paying to stay at campsites because I'm a woman, I didn't want to go just put my tent up in a field. I went to campsites, it was £20 a night. Sometimes it cost me more to do that than I would have been renting, but I had the freedom of moving around, still be able to do bits of work. I had some dog sits which paid me, and then I just kept doing that for a whole year. Very, very stressful. Which leads me to now. I think I stayed somewhere where there's a marina, and one of the guys suggested, why don't I look at maybe getting a camper van or a boat? And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I could do that. But first of all, I went down to the council, and the council basically just didn't help me. I went in there, so I was sleeping in my car as well, but that was only emergencies when I slept in my car. I really struggle sleeping in my car because I can't fall asleep in my car. You're sort of always awake, you sort of think you nod off, but you're just so aware of you're sleeping in a car. It's kind of scary in car parks and what have you. It wasn't ideal. And that's why I wouldn't do the camper van, because for me, a camper van, you still have to find somewhere to park up and stay, and it just, I think as a woman, I mean, guys aren't safe as well, by the way, you're homeless, just to put that out there. But I think being a woman, I just felt extra vulnerable and just unknowledgeable on certain things, and I tried to look into it. I tried to look on YouTube at all the people that sleep in cars in America. It's just different out there to here in England. There's nothing like they have in America where you can go and stay in car lots, or what they call them, car lots?
RV parks.
Yeah, but it's different out there. You see them all the time on YouTube, and they're just getting on with it. But over here, it's very, it's not that it's illegal, it's just that it's very unheard of. You don't see it that much. Hear of it that much, sorry. But yeah, where was I? So the boat, yeah, so basically, I went to the council, slept in my car, went to the council that morning, outside the council, slept in my car, and went in and I said, look, I'm sleeping in my car, can you help me please? I've been coming in here for ages, am I on the list, what's going on? You need to fill these forms out. Sat in the waiting room with a bunch of people coming and going. No one spoke English in there, by the way. And then the guy came out, dressed everyone in Arabic, and I was just shocked. I was sat there thinking, what did he just say? Does anyone know? Can someone tell me what he just said? In my own country, whatever. So anyway, then I finally went back to the reception and said, look, can you tell me what's going on? I've been sat here 2.5 hours. I said, can you help me? So I've got nowhere to go tonight. And they said, look, you need to go to the homeless project. So I went to the homeless project, and all they could offer me was a blanket. I walked away with a blanket. The guy behind me, he went in the same situation as me, sleeping on the streets, and then they gave him a pair of boots. I mean, they also give someone else a tent, and I mean, there's no support. Like, if I haven't got children, which I haven't, I'm 42, I've got no children, my mum and dad passed away, like I said, so I've got no, safety net, and I haven't got any way, I'm not on universal credit or anything like that, and I still am not. I just, it's not that I refuse it, I just don't like being in the system when I can support myself and get by and figure it out, which I've done. I just feel that there's no help for you unless you're on universal credit, and then even if you do that, there's a system in place, but I just felt like there was just no hope and no help, and they gave me this blanket, and I walked out with this second-hand blanket, actually, thinking, what the fuck just happened? To put it bluntly, what's going on in our country, what is happening, they're not even helping their own. And there's no help there's a lot of women that go through divorces as well, and there's just nothing for them in place. Domestic violence is a system for that. People live on the streets as what you call rough sleepers. There's different types of homelessness and situations. Mine's called hidden homelessness, because you're couch surfing, then your dog's sitting, and then I was sleeping in my tent in my car. But it's still rough sleeping as well, because you shouldn't be sleeping in your car, because that's rough. It's not nice. I think that's made my stress go beyond it should have, but anyway. Fortunately, I used my brain in some way. I thought, I've got this platform, I've been this professional model for 20 years, that when I did well, and when I didn't, it was just quiet. And everyone who's been self-employed should know that, you make money, then it goes quiet, and then you might have a good month, you might have a quiet few months, and it sort of levels out, actually. And I've had some setbacks as well over the years with other things and personal issues and going through domestic violence myself with a police officer that, you know, used to beat me up, and I got out of that and got him arrested, and how ironic is that? But there you go, they're quite control freaks and police officers, but that's what I'm saying about that. But going back to what I ended up doing is I set a GoFundMe up and I raised the money to get a boat, and I've now got the boat. I'm now living it's a little roof over my head, and it's basically a project boat, and it's been very difficult, not going to lie, but I've got to a point now where I've just been in survival mode for so long that I've just made it work. I've just made it happen. I've been through so much growing up as a child. If anyone else seen the Lean Toughs podcast, I spoke about all the childhood abuse I went through when I went to prison, being surrounded by drugs as a child. But for some reason, that did something to me. It created resilience in me as a child. And I had nothing growing up, but I came in this world and I turned into an adult where I wanted to strive to be this big professional model, and lived in America and lived in a Playboy mansion as a Playboy model. I got to live the American dream, as they call it, and here I am now living on a boat in England with no support from our own government, which is not supporting its own people. It's not even helping the women with children anymore, which I'm getting a lot of people writing to me now saying, I've got friends with children that are struggling as well. And I feel that the system has let us down. As a child, my dad taught me that if you ever struggle with money, the benefit system is there to help its own people. It's a safety net. It's a safety net for us. Then it wasn't there for me when I needed it most. And that's where I am. That's why I've gotten to my own initiative. I've gone and raised the money to do what I've had to do. I am not embarrassed for what I've gone and done with the GoFundMe. I've had to do what I've had to do. And I've sorted myself out, and I've got myself a little roof over my head, and I am proud of that. No one can take that away from me. I've got I've got my own little safe space, and it's in a marina, which is safe. It's double gated. I found it's completely out of the way to where I want it to be. I've got to move and uproot to a completely different area. But it's much better than sleeping in a tent, and it's much better than struggling day to day, like where I'm going to sleep tonight, who can I rely on, people let me down as well. Another reason I slept in my car a couple of times extra, because people were letting me down. And I think one thing that this past year, it's been 17 months, one thing it's taught me is that who my friends were and who my family were as well. Because my family are all the way up north. As you can hear, I've got a northern accent, so I'm speaking so fast, I'm getting so nervous. My family were north, and I've been away from them since I was like 18, 19 when I came to do modelling. I did extremely well with modelling. I used to live in America, like I said. I've moved all over the place, but mostly down in London is where I was based. But again, people was online saying some shitty things about me, saying, oh, what happened to all the money, this is her, she's got no money management. It's nothing to do with that. I lived in London. London's not a cheap place to live anyway. And when you're modelling, like I said, self-employed, you get money, you don't get money. You get good jobs, you don't get good jobs. And some things just you know, anyways. That's that. I just wanted to clear that up, so. I stand for fairness. I'm a true patriotic person because I do stand for fairness of the people. I've always helped people. I've built 3 schools around the world as a volunteer. I went to Belize, Malaysia and Peru, where I've helped those schools. Part of Rally International, Operation Rally, if anyone's heard of it. It's a really big organisation. It's a youth development programme that I did when I was 17 years old. That really opened my eyes up to the world. And due to that, I've always given back. I've always supported. That was in other countries, but over here I've helped as well. I'm helping now with the homeless. I work with rescue dogs. I've always, when I've travelled, when I've managed to get to travel, I work with rescue dogs. And that's now what I've fallen into, working with dogs. I'm a humanitarian, I just love to help, but that's just who I am. And that's why I feel like I am a true patriot. And I've always represented my country. I remember going to the Philippines as Miss Great Britain, holding up the Union flag. I remember wearing the Union Jack dress, or Union Jack flag dress, however you want to say it. And I was in America. I won Miss Hawaiian Tropic, which is a tanning product, but it was a big pageant. I've done pageants since I was 18. That's how I got into modelling in the first place. I think I said all this back to front. I'm so sorry, it's all in bits, but I'm nervous. But yeah, the past year's been kind of a whirlwind. I've been on GB News 3 times. My story went into the Sun newspaper, from Playboy Mansion to living in a tent. That's the headlines. They love a little catchphrase. It was always about Playboy, but you know, it is what it is. By the way, Hugh Hefner was a lovely guy. He wasn't bad in any way. I don't like all the girls selling stories on him now. He's dead. I think they're just sort of cashing in now. I just feel like kind of wrong on how they're portraying him like this new Epstein, and it's like, no, it's not going to work. It's not coming across like that. But yeah, he was a lovely person to me, and I think he's such a great businessman. And when I met him in a professional way, and that's all I'm saying about that. I've got no real stories to tell you because I was at the end of all that craziness, because he was a bit old when I got up to the mansion. So there's nothing there to sort of tell you in that respect, but the Sun, the GB News, when it went in the Sun newspaper, it went to 39 countries around the world, and it had this international press that went wild, and I just didn't understand why. I didn't expect that to happen. Never happened in my glamour modelling days, the press like that. So this was all new to me, and yeah, I just feel that I've had a knock-on effect, that people are looking up to me and inspired by me and keep patting me on the back saying keep going, and I've done something and I don't know what it is, and I think it's because I'm speaking for the people now, and I'm trying to raise awareness to help the homeless, because I really do think they've been left behind, and they are getting left behind. Yeah. So I'm going to do something about that. Again, I'm sorry about my stories all patchy and all over the place, and I feel like I'm just looking at this and looking at the floor, but I'm just trying to, I didn't plan what to say, it's just,
Perfect, very good, very good. You're telling your story of survival, and you're inspiring other people, which is more than what a lot of people do. Yeah. That's where it all starts, you're telling the story.
Okay, yeah, so...
Very good.
Yeah, so should we do some questions?
No? Questions are later.
Okay.
Are you finished?
I think so. Is there anything I've missed?
No.
Okay, I
Ladies
think
and
I've
gents,
covered everything.
Louise Glover. Well, there you go. I mean, what a story, and obviously difficult to tell as well. And I think it shows you the importance of what UKIP's now talking about. You know, when you lose your family network, the government is not there for you. Well, especially if you kind of were born and brought up in this country, they're definitely not there for you. And that's sad, and that really is so important, and that's obviously one of UKIP's messages, the importance of the family network, and obviously a mum and a dad and all those things. When you lose that, you can really be facing some serious hardships. That was difficult for Louise, and I thank her very much for sharing her story with us. So, moving on, we now move to a segment which is basically the interview of the leader, not in the style of like the Dracula film or anything like that. But I've maybe cut off. No. So what I need to ask is Chris to come to the stage. Stage lectern. So how are we going to do this, Chris? Now, for those of you that don't know, Chris is a huge supporter of UKIP. We're very busy on X, I would say. Yeah. And he's very good at asking pointed questions. Now, this little segment is for you guys to hear a little bit from Nick, really. And what I will say is I don't know what the questions are. Nick... Neither do I. Oh, brilliant. Nick doesn't know.
Yeah, you do, Chris.
So what I'm going to ask you to do, Chris, if you're on one corner, yes, and then Nick's on the next corner of the lectern, all right? That's fine. But so this is Chris. Round of applause for Chris, please. I think we're going to do chairs. Oh, we're going to do chairs. Oh, we're doing chairs. We're doing chairs. Okay.
Apparently we're going to do chairs.
We're doing chairs.
Chairs in it? No chairs.
So, Chris, it's over to you. I'm unleashing the beast.
Early in the day, but there we go.
So please do take a seat, sir. And ladies and gents, can I please welcome Nick and David?
Shall I hold the mic?
We'll share it.
Yeah, we like that, don't we?
Let's share it.
Okay. It feels a bit like Smith and Jones for those old enough in the audience to remember it.
I remember.
Just about. Yeah. Let's start with a nice softball question. Tell me, how you got to where you are today from childhood in less than 3 minutes.
Hard press, 3 minutes. Come on, Chris, well done.
That's not possible. 3 minutes. Someone want to whack the timer on
No,
you?
I've done it, I'll start, it's done. You're 10 seconds in.
If you are of the Christian worldview, you'll know that suffering is grace. You'll know that suffering brings you closer to God. I'm a millennial, born in 84. By definition, you were baptised, and then there was a do in the pub that night. You ticked the box. Was I taught? Some and some. They were good people. My parents are good people, my parents. But the reality is that if it's in under 3 minutes, we plan, God plans. Every hard knock, every scar, every gut-wrenching night in Heartbreak Hotel, having your heart ripped out, being physically hurt as well, some illegitimate and some sport-based. The knocks in life, all of it can be spun into gold, all of it. Every single knock can be spun into gold, and you can.
Amen.
You can spin it all into gold, and you can become a battle-hardened warrior that turns to love and light and away from the darkness, and you can only do that by the grace of God. Was I lucky? Did God touch me? Was it my parents and the stoicism that I was taught and the importance of masculinity? My father would always teach me about facing the stone and turning the stone over. The valiant ne'er taste death but once, but cowards die many times. This was from when I was this high. Anyway, maybe I got really lucky with my family. But there's another part in the last 20 seconds. If it wasn't for Jack Ross and Turning Point UK, I wouldn't have had a platform. That's why I'm so impressed with Marie and with Louise, because I got off my backside when the government told me that I had to stand 2 metres away from my fellow citizen in Tesco's in 2020, when they told me I had to take a state injectable, when they told me to, as a self-employed person, that I couldn't go to work. You all know I'm a personal trainer, and they closed the gyms. So I couldn't go to work, but the fast food restaurants, they stayed open. I said, I will have my own back. I was motivated. Everyone's got their red line, yeah? You get cancelled, maybe someone takes a shot at you. In the case of Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul, obviously that cost him his life. For me, I had my red lines, and it's built up. So I went and did something, but I did something because a platform existed, an entity existed, because good men said, I'm going to do something. So no Charlie, no Jack Ross, no Nick Tenkoni. And we've platformed 2 wonderful speakers today, and it's just the start. You've been on Liam Tufts, that went viral, just the start. You keep going, you keep telling the story, etc. So there's the stuff that I was given as a kid, nurtured with, the hard knocks. I've also grafted, this is way over 3 minutes, I've also grafted to within an inch of my life as well, in the most awful of situations and circumstances, jobs no one wants to do. But then let's fast forward through all of that to 5-6 years ago. If it wasn't for Turning Point, I wouldn't be here. So that's important with regards to the rise and where we're at now. That's really important to mention. Good people got off their backside to produce platforms so that people like you and me could then go and tell our story to go on to produce greatness.
Great answer. Great answer.
Did pretty well to keep it to that.
Seriously, you are one of those people who inspire because you run towards the fire. Where does the courage come from, Nick? So, having given you the initial 3 minutes, 3 and a bit minutes to tell us, where does it come from? Is it from your parents? Is it from your faith? Is it all of those things? Is it none of those things? Just tell us, where do you get the bravery from?
So I'm commanded to respond, it's by the grace of God, which is true. But if you're of the Christian worldview, you know that it's a journey. On, off, especially in Christianity, where there's so much emphasis on faith, hope and charity, as opposed to authoritarianism like with other religions. It is a journey. So by the grace of God is my answer. But I truly do believe I was selected for something. Everyone in this room will think they're selected for something. Maybe child rearing, maybe being a devout husband, mother, father, etc., wife. Maybe job, career, to become CEO of something. Maybe it's just to get through each day. I've been there, just to get through one moment sometimes, with physical symptoms and when the darkness and the black cloud overhead, etc. Just to get through that moment is enough. I genuinely do think, like everyone else has a right to think, that I was put here for a reason. So where does it come from? I have to say that it's divine. I have to say that because there's no way that it can be anything else. I've used up all my 9 lives, I've travelled the world, I've earned a few quid, I've spent a few quid. Nothing about me being here makes any sense. Something has said you must stay here, and it's my rise has come in at the same time where Christian nationalism needs to be born in the UK. Reform and the Tories will cancel each other out, and the unholy alliance is forming. That's the Greens, the Lib Dems, Sultana and Corbyn.
Yep.
So there's a void that's been filled. If you do the timeline, it has to be heaven sent, it has to be divine. But again, my story that I just told before, in reverse, I also have to thank all of the hard knocks, and all of the trauma, and all of the BS, and all of the horror, and all of the heartache, because man does have a choice to spin that into gold. You can go to the bottom of the bottle, you can shoot drugs, you can, God forbid, take your own life. Now, I believe every man has an opportunity to take the hatred, take the rage, take the anxiety, take the nonsense, and say, I'm going to take this energy, and that's what it is, by the way, it's energy, and I'm going to become a warrior, or a disciple of Christ, or better still, maybe both. And maybe that's what we've got now.
Amen.
So for you, UKIP, Turning Point, Disciples of Christ, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, just about find time to go to Mass, on the streets. How do you do it then? How do you keep going? Where does the energy come from? Is that from the Lord as well?
For those of you who don't know, Chris has been very kind. Obviously, Turning Point's a big factor. Disciples of Christ, a little activist organisation. Me and my business partner started a year ago, obviously now UKIP. Elon Musk was asked in an interview recently about days off, and I think he said something about no, or like, was there a couple of days he said, or something like that? So we all know about the fact that a man who's driven has a little bit of darkness, or a lot of darkness inside of him. Actually, that energy, if converted into light and love, is actually very powerful. It's very important. So what keeps me going? In one breath, I want to say stubbornness. You've got to be a Rottweiler. You've got to be. If you're going to go for gold and go for glory, you've got to be tough. It's more than that. You've got to be super stubborn. And a lot of people will criticise that, especially in personal relationships. Or you're so stubborn. This is very true. Yes, I am. And it's saved my arse more times than I care to remember. But with moderation, with temperance, for example. In terms of energy, my food routine, my food regime is A1. Very high protein, very high fat, very minimal carbs. I have to stay in shape. There is some practical elements that activists and patriots must be aware of. You need to look after your health, your cardio fitness, your combat game, your strength game. I'm fairly blessed in that department injury-wise, as in injury-free-wise. So there are some practical elements. And last but not least, I'd say this. A lot of people have lost their families from the lockdown files and supporting patriotism as we see the divide come about in society. I'm surrounded at UKIP not only by fantastic advisors, supporting chairman, fantastic people around me who have essentially got my back, but my family also. Everyone here knows someone whose family's either not with us anymore or they've turned their backs, they're lefties. And this all started 5-6 years ago. Everyone knows this story. My family's like no different family. It's got its problems, but the reality is we're all on the same page, faith-wise and ideologically. So I'm very, very lucky and blessed. So the question, where does the energy come from? Obviously, the Holy Spirit is divine. I'm being looked after. I'm being looked after by our team. I'm being looked after by good people. I'm also trying to take care of myself. I also love the fight. I love the action. And you're going to need a warrior knight to take this country back as well.
Amen.
That's it. You're going to need that. And I think another thing is I'm very lucky as well in terms of the energy and how it all works and how I'm still here and why this is. I think that luck has a bit to do with it as well.
A little bit, maybe.
Just under 3 minutes. Well done.
So who inspires you, Nick? Who are the people throughout your life, from conception through to now, 42? 41. Bit of VAT there.
I say year older than me.
No, seriously, who are the people that have inspired you? So it could be ideologically, it could be spiritually, the people that have made you the person you are today.
So when we say that our history has been bastardised by Marxist, communist lefties, there's so much more to it than that. Now, I'm sure that there are plenty of practising, baptised, confirmed Christians before me. But at some point, it's probably a good idea to look at the life and death of the saints. It's probably a good idea to look at what they stood for, what they went against, and then how they were crucified. And I'm not just talking about burnt alive. I'm talking about skinned alive. I'm talking about being griddled alive. All they had to do was renounce their faith. Famous St. Longinus, the Roman soldier that pierced the side of our Lord, and his eyes were bad, and then he healed because of the blood and the water, etc. All he had to do was not turn his back on Rome, but he did. They found him, he's a Roman centurion, they caught up with him, and they killed him in the most awful, egregious way possible. So the life and death of the saints is somewhere where I would hugely encourage everyone. It's kind of been taken away from our history a little bit. In terms of family members, my father, I saw him work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, but there's a price to pay for that when the pound of flesh is on the scales and the scale starts tipping over. And obviously, by definition, the family, obviously my father. So I learned from that as well, and I saw the grace in that teaching as well. This is a product of the boom of the 80s we're talking about, Del Boy Central, and there was so much success to be had and so much money to be earned. And he was a small medium enterprise business who ended up employing, 50, 60, 70 people? Well, that's good, right? We're capitalists, that's great, etc. So certainly my father, the life and death of the saints, obviously no more than our Lord and Saviour, what he went through to teach us that suffering is grace. I'll be honest with you, certain clergy as well, priests that I've met all these people that are demonised within society, sometimes completely unnecessarily, the sacrifice that they've made, a little bit of theological doctrinal debate there about whether priests should or shouldn't marry, but the sacrifice that I've seen made by good people at Turning Point, at UKIP, friends of mine, when I see that sacrifice, it could be in the ordinary, hard-working common man. That's a huge source of inspiration to me. Overcoming trouble, overcoming strife. And there is one final thing that I would point to. If you were born in the 80s, you couldn't get away from muscular, patriotic, God-fearing men beating the bad guy. And I tell you something, you can call it propaganda if you want, I don't care. It was brilliant. It was East versus West, strong alpha male versus strong alpha male, and good and light. Now, we didn't realise that when we were watching Rocky. We didn't realise that when we were watching Terminator, but it's true. It was all Christian-based, just badged up in a certain way. The millennials and those born in the 70s and the 80s are super, super lucky. If you were part of that, let's call it propaganda. But so what? It worked. You wanted to lift weights and you wanted to be a man. So thank you.
Amen.
Look at what they're watching now. Let's talk about men nowadays. Let's talk about what the kids are watching, etc. But we're going to come on to that.
So you and I had a similar journey with the Conservative and Unionist Party. In other words, we stuck at it far too long when it was quite clear that somebody needs to put a bullet through its head. So, having been on that journey, what did you learn from that, and how has that helped you now that you're leaving UKIP?
Are you talking about my excommunication from the Conservative Party? Correct. Anyone knows now, many big names, apparently now myself included, cancelled from the Conservative Party. So my journey, very important for everyone, and for the people that are going to watch this. I want to say spring of last year, but it was going on before then. You make it very clear, I want to stand as a candidate. You're not going to give me a safe seat. You're going to mug me off, but I want to stand, and then I will earn my stripes, and then in about 300 years' time, you'll give me a safe seat, and that's how this works. There's a pecking order. They refused to let me stand. That's it. They refused to let me stand. What? Patriotism? Rejects ethno-nationalism? Right-wing social conservatism or Christian conservatism? What are you talking about? Young, hungry male who wants to take his country back. You can't stand. The Conservative Party have betrayed all of us. They stole the name, capital C, true, but they stole the name, and branding is everything. And we can't ever compete with that. I mean, we're going to do our best, as you all know from my little blurb earlier on. We're rebranding, and that's great. I think UKIP is a fantastic name. I've always liked it, and I like the initials as well. But the Conservative Party really have mugged every single socially conservative right-wing patriot. And also you've got to think about what Nigel did with UKIP 10 years ago, etc. Ask any current ex-UKIP or what they think about Nigel, etc. I can't help but feel that behind closed doors, the uni party coexists in one happy champagne socialist bubble, and they just go with whatever is kind of thing. That's why we call it the elite or the club or whatever. I can't help but feel that they all kind of are in on it together a little bit, etc. So again, this is key. I'm expelled, give or take, I think. Won't bore you with the reasons, but it was pretty Mickey Mouse. But ultimately, they weren't going to let me stand as a candidate, so I'm out. And then, of course, UKIP, and this is testament to UKIP. UKIP saw that, our fantastic chairman saw that and pitched me, because we're go-getters. We look after our people, loyalty, etc., rewards. So that was, thanks be to God. Thank God the Conservative Party did what they did, because everyone in the Conservative Party right now, whether they're activist, leafleteer, supporter, standing as a candidate, they're all staying in the Conservative Party, because the mindset is, it's only the Tories that can change Britain. Now that mindset is completely reasonable. The fact that it is incorrect is irrelevant. Lots of people do actually think the only way you can change our establishment is to change from within. And I applaud it, but the problem is at some point everyone with that mindset is going to have to realise it is game over. Because of the Lib Dem coalition and their sponsorship of homosexuality and degeneracy and drug taking and everything else that everyone knows about that entity. Unfortunately, you can't build in disease soil.
Exactly right.
So it is problematic, but you've got to understand the mindset. So thank God they did what they did. Thank God for, again, good men standing up and taking it and grasping it.
Well done, Ben.
And, yeah, well done, Ben. Thanks for putting up with me as well. And yeah, one door closes, another one opens.
Actually, let's have a round of applause for Ben Walker.
Yay!
I think you deserve that. So, you have been a personal trainer, still are, do a little bit, and obviously you train yourself hard. So, where does the crossover come from there into your politics, in terms of the discipline, the commitment, the structure, the diet and everything else? How does that cross over then into the leadership of UKIP?
So it's absolutely huge crossover, and it will be the worst mistake a lefty journalist or someone trying to attack me ever makes, like what happened on Question Time the other night when Zia called Zach Polanski out for what he is, some guy who was a hypnotherapist that convinced a woman that she could grow bigger boobs by hypnotherapy. So mudslinging on Question Time, unbearable programme, but it's true. Hypnotherapist, and I'm really out there. Like, it works for you, if it works for you, if it causes change, fine. But hypnotherapy, okay, maybe, possibly. But yeah, he's just a wrong. Like, you just know he's a wrong. Zach Polanski, whatever his name is. Is it Zach?
Zach Polanski, David Paulden, depends what day of the week it is.
Just, yeah, Dave, that's it.
Dave,
Yeah, that's it. So, worst mistake they'll ever make. So, someone wants to knock me for it. So, in 2010, 2015, I don't know, guys. In the last 20 years, it turns out that if you're going to be a personal trainer, you're actually not a PT, you're a life coach. Everyone's hopped up on opioids, everyone's depressed, everyone's got unresolved trauma, everyone hasn't broken generational curses, no one's had psychodynamic therapy, godlessness, divorce, everyone's broken, and rightly so. Postmodern society, very difficult, it is hard nowadays. It used to be harder, but in different ways. Too much choice, godlessness. So you're actually an advisor. So you might do circuits, and you can do 1,000,000 burpees, and you can do all the boxing and all the rest of that good stuff. But actually, I can't speak about different decades. What I became was their best friend, their confidant. What I became was their advisor. And I would always say to the young girls after the revolution of Pure Gym and the Gym, which has bastardised the industry, because that's what happens when you water things down, because Fitness First had the monopoly and it held the bar there, then you had your David Lloyds. The young girls that would come in, dressed like whores, and they would be desperately looking for attention. And I would say to them, have you tried prayer? But they want the quick fix, right? So what? What's the latest thing? Is it garlic, ginger? What's the latest fat burner? It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. You've got your red meat, you've got your testosterone, you've got your chicken, all your meats that break down to amino acids, and you've got your vitamin C's, etc., to boost your immune system. There are some staple macro and micro facts with regards to what we consume. You've got daily water allowance, don't smoke, try and stay away from too much alcohol, absolute zero tolerance policy for drugs. And the look on these faces. Have you been to mass? Have you been to church? Have you tried prayer? Just absolute. So we're talking about something that I started in my last year of university. Now every guy wants to be in combat, boxing, jiu-jitsu. This MMA wasn't really a thing at this point. So circa 2006. And I was like, well, I've got to take responsibility. And I'd done loads of cardio as a kid, I was a track level athlete, boring, that's far too long ago. So I was like, right, okay, fine, well, I'm going to look after my body because this is my marketing. This is body image is important. Now you could argue that's to do with vanity, and I'll take the argument and I'll take it on the chin. But there's nothing wrong with being strong. There's nothing wrong with understanding that food is fuel. There's nothing wrong with saying that the Christian worldview is that we don't waste food, and that the food is fuel to fuel us on our journey each day, regardless of how long. So by 2012, I'd done all right in corporate, but I was unmanageable. It was not fair on the people who were in the blue chip firms that I worked for, in the startups, the SMEs. You can't manage this. I've got to go do something else. So I'll go start my own business, right? American dream, capitalism, what you want to call it. And then before too long, full-time personal trainer, savage line of work. You're up at 5 a.m. and you're going to bed at 11 p.m. because of when people want to be trained. And you think you're going to nap during the day. That doesn't happen because you've got to be full-time training. God forbid you get injured, etc. So for all those years from circa 2012 to about 2 years ago, so to the point about still doing it, I don't still do it because it's not safe anymore. But yes, for about 10 years, 12 to 22-ish, you're talking about tens of thousands of hours of coaching people one-to-one, telling them that it's going to be okay, telling them that we're going to get through this, because I specialised in transformations, that's before and after pictures, specialising in telling them how to re-engineer their lives, telling them about the importance of faith without preaching or evangelising, and now it turns out that I'm in a suit and not a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, telling the nation that it's going to be okay, that we're going to be all right, that we're going to be saved, that you've got to look after yourself. Conservatism, ideology, personal responsibility is 101.
And we love you for it, Nick.
Louise, you took matters into your own hands, right? You looked after yourself. The state said no, so you went and did something about it, okay? We need to talk about welfare, that's very true. Who'd have thought? I'm doing the exact same thing, I'm evangelising, but instead of one-to-one and 55 quid an hour, or whatever I was or wasn't charging, now I'm doing it to 75 million people. I'm saying, I'm the coach, I'm the trainer, me boss, you listen, I promise you that before and after picture of Britain, the before picture is horrible, but the after picture is going to be glorious.
Yeah.
We would have thought I'd get a personal training analogy at the end of that.
Well done.
So building on that, I think it's fair to say you're an alpha male. I know.
I'm down with whatever.
I have a problem with beta men. Right? A real problem with beta men. And I think they are the downfall of Western society. Talk to me about it, Nick. Am I right?
He doesn't care, he's switched off.
Take as long as you like.
Yeah.
In your own time, Nick.
Opened a can of worms there.
When I look at you, that means I'm worried. So obviously, fully fledged politician now, so you're taught things about optics, so don't slander anyone, don't be mean about anyone, but also we're taking the country back, right? And you guys are going to get no lies from your leader, you and lots of people, no matter how many people are on in this room, hundreds of thousands have already elected me to be their leader. They just haven't got the courage to do what Louise and Marie have done today. This is incredible. Like when I joined Turning Point, everyone has a point where they go, well, it's a turning point. So in terms of support in Britain, why would you alienate? Why would you ostracise? You toe the line, middle of the road. Oh, well, we might as well just all join Reform, right? Liberalism, love is love. Do what your heart tells you. Blasphemy, nonsense. No, love is not love. Do what your heart tells you. No.
Diversity.
Diversity is your strength. Remember, love is love. What was the favourite one the millennials were brought up on? Oh, consenting adults over 18 behind closed doors, anything goes. We were sold an enormous lie. It was absolute nonsense, but we're gonna rectify that. We're gonna re-engineer that. Is what we're gonna do. So, beta males. When we say beta males, we're not being rude about anyone who isn't an alpha. You have alphas and you have betas. But because we're at war, again, I'm being as nice as I can be here. Because we're at war, unfortunately, you can't have one Nick Tenconi. You need hundreds of them. You don't need thousands. In our first past the post system, 650. 650 constituencies, 650 candidates. I need hundreds, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands. It's so important that we return back to understanding the code of the warrior, the spirit of the warrior. Not there to be liked, there to be respected. Not there to be anyone's friend, you're there to issue discipline. You have to be a monster, but you must be in control of your physical capability. You must be completely weaponizing your testosterone and your deployment and your capability. But you must understand that deployment and capability are two separate things. And deployment carries with it consequences. In some cases, it can cause you your liberty forever, if God forbid, as has happened to too many brothers, they've just lost it on a night out, whatever, etc. So beta males are a problem if they outweigh the alpha males. And the alphas look on and go, well, what's the point? What am I saving this for? So the alphas still have to be inspired. They still have to be driven. But what you've got in Britain, I think, is a beta male culture, which stems from love is love, homosexuality, I don't know what the word is, but it's effeminate men. Yeah. So cultures, toxic cultures. Then you've got girl boss culture. So for those people in the room who aren't down with the kids and their slang, girl boss is just your feminism stuff. So you'll see it now, walk around any town, walk around any high street on a Saturday, you'll see it. She's leading, he's following. And the trousers that are basically painted on, you know, the guys with the jeans. It's not skinny jeans. No, it's 20 years ago, because we all
Well, that's where he said toxic femininity.
we all love our clothes, right? Guys on the right, we love dressing nicely. Do you remember Hugo Boss? It's like slim fit trousers. What's slim fit? Well, about 20, 25 years ago, slim fit. Then it was slimmer, and then it's basically leggings. It's all a slippery slope. It's all BS. Just look at how things once were and how men dressed. Look at any archive from history. Why did men dress like that? Because of standards, not here to be liked, here to be respected, optics, body image, how a man carries himself, holds himself. Now again, we're all dressed nicely, we're at a conference. There's no judgment passed on these brothers of mine who I'm potentially talking down to. I want them to do better. I want them to get better. I want them to understand that if you're not going to be an alpha, that means leader. If you're not going to be big and strong and a leader and psychologically equipped, then you're going to have to at least support them. But they're not. The betas are supporting the feminists, the toxicity within society, etc. And that's the tip of the spear. It's absolutely savage. And when we talk about why are we actually in this position, we can talk about globalism, we can talk about New World Order, we can talk about abortion rates, homosexuality, transgenderism, godlessness, liberalism, but there are a lot of people who genuinely believe it's the absence of masculinity, it's the void of masculinity. And what do we know about wars? Wars create men, wars create soldiers. And what do we know about the absence of war? For all my elders in the audience, you'll know that when you remove the war and the liberal boom period happens, good times create weak men. And I want to tie that into final close on the point, because we had a bit of banter at the start, but in all seriousness now, when the opportunity presents itself, you grab hold of that, and cometh the hour, cometh the man. And that mindset is now gone. It's gone due to gluttony, pride, liberalism, and godlessness. So what exactly are we going to do with these males within society that essentially aren't willing to become lethal machines who know the difference between deployment and capability? What do you do with that? So we must turn our heads to those people that can be saved. We're not trying to save people that can't be saved. We must turn our heads to those who either want to be saved or who can be saved. This is not something that I have ever said I've got a solution to. And I do have the solution for Britain, but to that, there is a serious element to it, banter aside. It is brutally unacceptable and hard. And then just last point, those who have taken puberty blockers, is there any coming back from that? Is there any? I don't know, I'm not a doctor. So yeah, very sad, somber note to end on. And it is hugely problematic because it means we're ripe for the taking by hostile entities.
There may be a question coming up on that. So one of the ways to get 650 Nick Tenconis into Parliament is for you to become a daddy.
Hey!
In all seriousness, Nick, how hard is it now as the leader of a political party who, it's fair to say, negative press from time to time, which is very difficult to read out and redact, when the mainstream media won't speak to you. How hard is it now to find a potential life partner? And I know, particularly in light of what happened with Charlie and what Charlie's message was to people, which was to go out, get married, have children, build a family. I know how important that is to you. Do you want to just spend a couple of minutes on that and tell us when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, God willing that it does happen?
Of course. I really appreciate that. So, in terms of interviews, Guy on Monday night did it, Dan Wotton did it a few weeks ago, and now you've kindly done it. So, rather than making it about me, which kind of, you guys want to hear that actually, so maybe we make it a bit about me and then a bit about my message to our male youth. The battle of the sexes, girl boss culture, feminism, I don't know, pornography, disposable societal attitudes and values. Did I mention abortion? I'm not sure how much we can come back from this. We have to turn back to our youth. Again, going back to my last point, we really do, because we've got to live and die by our actions and our decisions. So it very much is a very sad, horrible topic there. So I'll link that into me. No, not married. Yes, for those of you know, Catholic, so obviously everyone who shares the Christian worldview, it's a sacred institution, and it's one of the sacraments. In terms of meeting a girl who's on your same wavelength ideologically, politically, shouldn't be very hard, because we're talking about conservatism. Conservatism is pretty straightforward, really. Small state, traditional family values, low tax, preserve your culture, and view modernity with a lot of scepticism. But as you say, I've been bastardised. People have told lies about me. And also, girl boss culture means that the mindset of an awful lot of women now, the first thing they do is Google your name. This is problematic, because they're now going to get the mainstream media, or whatever you call Google, search engine media. So you're up against it. I'm hugely hopeful. She's out there somewhere, thanks be to God. Very, very excited for that next chapter of my life. But moving on from me and to our male youth, what we call the trad Christian scene is re-emerging, thanks be to God. But it can't re-emerge fast enough, because even for our young men who are now 25 to 28, that type of thing, the battle of the sexes still rages on. Mum and dad haven't raised their daughters to say, right, after 18, priority number one is this. If you want to pursue a career, go for it, but you potentially might end up really regretting it, because it goes by so very fast. So I know the heartbreak, I know how scary it is, and it is awful thinking, maybe that you're gifted in certain areas by God, but in other areas, no. We must, again, evangelise, look after all of our male and female youth to say, as best we possibly can, there is a path and a way out of it. Basically, don't end up like me, or be like me. So there's a little bit of humour at the end there, but there is some sadness there, because obviously I've chosen the path I've chosen, and there is a price to pay for that. And that is that if you find her, and mum and dad say no, she's going to have to rip the family apart, right? Or if you find her and she thinks, well, I'm going to lose my job, she's going to have to lose her job. It shouldn't be like that at all. There's nothing extreme about any of us in this room. There's nothing extreme about me or my ideology. But in terms of marketing, branding and optics, we are where we are. So yeah, the emphasis needs to be on what we do with our male and female youth, and the message that we give them through platforming speakers, through our branding, through my speeches, etc. Married as soon as possible, lots and lots of babies.
And stop killing 5,000 a week.
Can I just say something on that, Chris? To be honest, it's not just on Nick.
Yeah.
You know, as people both in the party and as Christians and a Christian party, we're called also to pray for our leaders. So, you know, there's a responsibility on us as members and those watching on the stream, you know, to also pray for Nick, to pray for his future wife. Yeah. And again, as you were saying, you know, biblically, we also know a man leaves his mother and father and cleaves to his wife. So biblically, I know there's that fear, but not the fear of, you know, tearing apart the family in a sense for the sake of a new one, joined as one.
God, keep this man safe as well. All right. It wouldn't be an interview with you if we didn't mention the elephant in the room. It's not the Marxists, it's not the globalists, it's not the communists.
Ben?
That's really hard. No, they will hold that one against you. No. Nick. Islam. What happens next?
That's such a naughty thing to do. That's such a saucy thing to do, isn't it? Hand me the mic, question Islam. What happens next? Yeah, literally, you might as well just dropped it, mate. Just head out. Not going to ruin my speech. I will ruin my speech when I give it, but I'm not going to ruin it right now for you guys. We will remain extended to the moderate Muslim community to reject what we refer to as radical Islam, Islamism, Islamists, or radical jihadis. There's quite a few different words, but one of the key ones is the Islamic Caliphate. We've all met Muslims who reject the nonsense. The psychopaths don't just come from the Pakistani community, they come from the Bangladeshi community, the Indian community. They're radicalised. They're normally Pakistani, the monsters. We know that via stats and facts. But then I've met perfectly good Pakistani Muslims who reject all that madness. And there's a lot of inbreeding as well, and it messes with their heads. So we know what's what with the stats and the facts. We are going to say continually that all the moderates denounce radical Islam, denounce the Islamic Caliphate, decree and declare that this is a Christian land, and we will coexist and we will live side by side. But if you do not denounce radical Islam, the Islamic Caliphate, Islamism, then you will be going home. So it's not just the mass deportations of the Islamists, 40,000 on MI5's terror watch list, 57 out of the 80 prescribed terrorist groups are radical Islamic. It's not just about the bad people are going home. We are taking our country back, and we are saying to these people, look, I've got a lot of pressure on both my shoulders to say that you've got to get rid of all of it. So my hand is extended. Decree and declare this is a Christian land. We will be living as a secular society even after we've reinstated Christianity back into the heart of government, and we can coexist side by side. We're banning the burqa, we're taking it back, we're banning halal slaughter, etc. And all those moderate Muslims are going to go, yeah, cool, because they don't want to go back there. Because remember, the biggest problem we've got isn't with the first generation. The first generation knows to behave, remember. The second and the third one, they get radicalised by the propaganda and the left wing and the unholy alliance and the Palestine. You know, it's all psychopaths. Palestine, genocide, that's it. No mention of Azerbaijan and Armenian Christians. No mention of Syrian Christians, Nigerian Christians. How about how Christianity is demonised, persecuted in Britain, which is a civilised nation? That's without talking about our entire history. They don't care. So that's what we mean when we say we're taking our country back and the communists and the Islamists are going home. The moderates are going to have to choose which side they're on. That is an act of kindness and fairness by me, because that's who I am, but it is also the Christian worldview with regards to second chances. So they will be offered that once and once only.
Brilliant.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, as if by magic a mic appeared. So, I think it works. Yeah, it does work. So final question, because I've seen what the time is, and I've also seen Ben come over, which tells me we've got very little time left. So, just tell me one person on the opposite side of politics to you who you admire and who inspired you, and inspires you to this day.
That was on cue, Ben.
You can't be serious. On the opposite side
On the opposite side of politics to you, somebody that fundamentally you might not agree with, but a conviction politician, someone you could absolutely say you knew where they stood.
I don't know actually, because like obviously in your head you're all thinking George Galloway, but George Galloway's a snake.
I think he toned in, actually.
Enoch Powell?
He's
on
not,
our side.
He's not other end. So yeah, it's difficult to answer, guys. Obviously, a lot of you are thinking Jeremy Corbyn because the guy's he's a hard worker, he's an activist, he's got that bike, isn't he? So yeah, I don't really, because they're all.
Have you done that? When you done it?
I think I'm going to plead the fifth actually. On the if the question is on the opposite.
Yeah.
So in terms of views, ideology, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the unholy alliance and what happened after October the 7th and how they've behaved, I say no mercy, no diplomacy, no surrender. So I'm going to plead the fifth and say there's no one who's my opposite, who I would say, actually, do you know what? Actually, probably someone old Labour, what we call old Labour. From back when. Yeah. So I'm going to plead the fifth, but I'm sure.
The best Prime Minister this country never had, because we would never have seen Labour again if he'd got in. Nick, it's been great fun, it always is. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Tenconi. And I think that's on time.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody. Right, we're going to break for a stretch of legs and drink, etc., etc. We're back here at 20 past, so thank you very much.
If you want to buy your raffle ticket,